Hello again, our beloved audience. For those of you who are interested in the company to invest in the people there and take your performance into a higher level, then for today we have a very distinguished guest, organizational development and training program design consultant and the CEO, founder of Invicts Co. company for training consultancy and technology solutions with nearly 20 years of experience across governmental, nonprofit, and consultancy sectors. She specializes in leadership development, organizational culture, and the design of high-impact training programs. Please welcome with me Ms. Jamilah Ghazi Al-Otaibi, organizational development and training program design consultant. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, such a pleasure to have you again.
The pleasure is mine.
So it's really amazing, to see the approach of organizational development. What kind of interests you to go to that direction?
Let's say we started on a minimal level. When you started in the beautiful intro, and thank you for that, with around 20 years of experience in multiple sectors, we can say that my background comes from the governmental sector to the private sector to non-profit to the
So you go through all the different organizations.
Yes, and to my own businesses. When you have this, let's say, overview of all these sectors, you can confidently say that I know where the gaps are in each and every sector. So based on all of this overview and this experience, I said that I have to harness this knowledge to something that is actually with great outcomes, not to me personally only, but to reflect it on the society I exist in. Of course, there's more than way, non-profit way, and there's a profit way. So one is through my own company and one through my non-profit initiatives. So based on these gaps, I noticed that all we need is to really invest in the human capital development, and not just by saying it in theory or let's say the trendy words to grasp attention, but to actually invest in humans and not see them as a cost, but to see them as like a machine. Exactly. See them as a real investment that is the actual engine of any entity that we're talking about.
That's really beautifully. And every owner of the company, if he take that concept, then he can take the performance into very, very high level. What was one of the greatest gap that you have noticed through surfing in different organizations?
If we're going to talk about, let's say, private sector or governmental sector, because there are, let's say, clear outcomes and clear tasks that they have. In the current days, we have a constant evolving environment. If we say, in the aspect of digital transformation, I can confidently say that the duration and the change is so fast that if you don't keep adapting yourself and adapting your skills, you will be left behind.
And sometimes that could put a high pressure on the employee, thinking he has a specific target he has to maintain during the work. And sometimes they say one of the gaps they found in government is lack of creativity and also lack of empowerment.
And passion sometimes. So the thing is, each sector has its own needs. And when we say if you're a training consultant or organizational development consultant, you have to be very detailed in noticing where the gaps are. Because if you misdiagnose where the gap is, I will deliver for you something that you do not need. And we will fall in the mistake that unfortunately many entities fall in, which is, let's say, short-term or hit and go training workshops. There are certain workshops currently that are there just for, for hearsay. Just we have that kind of set of tasks or let's say workshop that each entity have it just for looks, we can say. But the real change and the real challenges currently is really investing in humans to make them have a high adaptability and know how to communicate with others. So you have to have major sets, let's say self skills of how to manage yourself.
Like soft skills?
The soft skills, you can break them to self skills of how to manage myself. And there are people skills of how I can manage my relationship with someone else and my surrounding. And we can say we have the organizational skills like change management and that kind of skills that make me adapt to the organization I am within, despite the fact if it's governmental, private, or even small businesses.
Very nice. Like understanding yourself is going to make you very aware of
Yes.
the way that you communicate with others. And based on that, you can have like a great feedback on what you need to do in order to make your communication even better for a
Yes.
greater result. And I
Yes.
think that's really a great message for managers. Sometimes when we talk about managers, we talk also about like leadership styles,
Yes.
different styles.
Yes.
What do you think is like the most appropriate style or like the perfect style that people should take in order to make their organization in a better shape?
Personally, this is a very beautiful topic and really close to my heart because my MBA thesis from Maastricht University was based on this title.
Very
I
nice.
discussed the leadership styles
Okay.
and its effects, but not on private sector or governmental. No, I discussed the specific non-profit organizations' effect on volunteer retention and satisfaction. And what was really interesting is that if you want something to have real outcome and real honest
Impact.
numbers and real content, it has to be based on the culture you exist in.
The
And you have
culture
to-
existent.
Definitely. So when I speak about leadership style and when I see studies abroad, I cannot say I'm going to take it as is and I'm going to implement it
Oh,
in the
I
Kuwaiti
see.
context.
Yeah.
No, you have to take the factor of the culture. You have to know the values you exist in. And based on that, you adapt and you change it. So my study showed that the best leadership style in the Kuwaiti culture is the transformational leadership. The one
Transformational.
where you can listen and you can hear and you make your team feel as if they're heard and they have a voice. You cannot have, let's say, the kind of leadership that I have to
Autocratic
tell you.
maybe?
Yeah, exactly. I can't tell you, Allah, do task 1, 2, 3, 4. And you want to tell me, but Ms. Jamila, there's 1 cannot be implemented if 3. No, there is no time. This works in a certain setting, of course, because, you know, in the
Like
end,
military discipline, probably. Yeah,
exactly.
but
There
like
is
in-
not one fits all. I can't say there is a one way of leadership, and this is what I came up with my study. There is more than one leadership styles, and the thing is, you have to adapt based on the individual in front of you and on the team on you're actually leading and the entity you are representing and your values.
And I love that, Ms. Jamilah, when you mentioned the culture, because it's a very like important element when it comes to designing the program. And of
Yes.
course, there's other element as well that helping to make it like more measurable, more productive, and
Yes.
impactful on the long term. So, what other elements do you think is like very valuable when you're designing your own program?
The main thing is the aspect of sustainability. Do you actually want to have a workshop because you are obligated based on, let's say, the duties of the top management that they said you have to invest in your employees and you have to have, the ER workshop. Everywhere you'll hear
And
about
that's
this.
we see it like a very much like in school, you know, they
Yes.
like demand from the teachers like, hey, you have to do a workshop, even if there's no need for it, or just like something random,
Yes.
just to say like, hey, we have done the 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, so this is the main thing that we're talking about. For something to succeed, you have to know what your environment needs. And based on that, as we said at the beginning of the interview, you have to identify the gaps of your organization and your individuals. A great leader knows the team. And if we're going to say on a big entity like an organization, they have their own tools to also maintain and know and monitor the individuals in their entity. Like for a part of my experience, I was at the banking sector for a while. So the thing is that we had constant quizzes from time to time to test our knowledge. And you know, that kind of tools make you, as a leader from the top management, you know that your entity is actually working at full capacity or there is a certain lack in your employees. And based on where the lack is, the right program development and design need to fit where the gaps are. And I have to work on that to get a real human capital development, not just the theoretic one that we like to just
That's
say.
really
for-
amazing. So you are like basically analyzing the performance of the employees in the company,
Of
and then
course.
you decide where's like the gap, so you can really design an impactful program that can fix it.
I had one workshop recently, and I always work on that when I design my workshops in my own private company or even at the LMP. During the program, the workshop, before starting, I always give a quiz to know where my trainees stand at
The
the
needs
knowledge
they
that
need.
I'm going to give them.
Okay.
Because in the end, if I'm going to give you a certain concept, I need to know my audience. But sometimes you cannot get the real information of your audience because, you know, they are trainees and sometimes it works to the last minute. So it's my duty to know their needs. So I had a question in the end. What are they? I always ask, what are you waiting as an outcome and where do you lack and what do you need? So I always take a look at them. And sometimes I even alter my training workshop for the consecutive days to actually answer their questions and their needs. So you have to have great adaptability and you have to know your audience. Sometimes you will, if you have, let's say, high emotional intelligence, you can read the room. So you can know if someone is lost or not. For me, as a major factor to know if my workshop is successful or not is how many people held their phone.
Like attention. How many of them are paying attention? Another different
And
phrase.
how do you monitor attention? If they touch their phones. If I see a lot of people touching their phones,
You know, like you
on
have to
spot I
change.
need to know exactly. I have to shift even my tone, or I'll walk around. You know, it's
Or do
human
like
behavior.
some activity.
Exactly. They'll pay attention to you if you're constantly moving, and it's basically human behavior. So you have to always be awake to the needs and listen and adapt. Don't be rigid. Don't say, La, wallah, I have certain outcomes that I need to establish and that's it. No, you have flexibility. You can establish your outcomes, but it's like we can see it as a pipeline. I will take 10 extra minutes for this point, but obviously people don't need this point as much as I thought they do. So there is a space for one more factor. And
That's
so
really
on.
lovely. It means like for trainers, there is no like a certain box you can just fit in. Like it just depends on the room. Sometimes
Yes.
it can be a rectangle, sometimes it can be a circle, and sometimes it can be a triangle. Just see the rooms, read it, not only by listening, but also by observing with your own eyes.
Definitely.
So with that, like what's one final like message you would like the audience to grasp from your work that you do, or like for the companies that are seeking for some help or mentoring for their employees?
When we say Kuwait's Vision 2035, or when we say UN's Sustainable Development Goals, these are all trendy terms. But we have a personal, let's say, role of actually really working in alignments with these visions and these goals. So on a personal level, you have to always work on yourself. You have to always find the right professional workshops to enhance your skills, to always keep in alignment of this constantly changing platform and environment that we exist in. And for the organizations, you have to always make sure that you are identifying the real gaps of your individuals in your organizations to actually contribute to the human development in Kuwait, because in the end, this is all going to be reflected at the bigger view of the Kuwaiti society and inshallah on the worldwide.
Inshallah, I really love that. So the change doesn't start like from one person, it starts like for a collaboration of work between the different sectors and also between the individual himself. Take responsibility, do the actions, develop yourself so you can reach a better performance, and also for the companies and the sectors to work and invest in their employees. That's really a very powerful and amazing message. Thank you so much, Ms. Jamilah Ghazi Al-Otaibi, for being with us and sharing your beautiful journey through different sectors and what you have learned and how you can really help the different companies and entities to become better.
Thank you for having me today.
It's our pleasure. And now, dear viewers, we're going to take a quick break. But before that, every year we enjoy a new and enjoyable adventure in Kuwait by visiting one of the distinguished exhibition expo, where you will discover the world of innovative interior design and be inspired by new ideas for your home and give yourself the opportunity to enjoy a unique adventure full of inspiration in Kuwait. The Kuwait International Fairground is in Mishrif, serving as a strategic hub for commercial activities in Kuwait. It is considered one of the largest and best equipped venues for hosting a large-scale exhibition like the private one we recorded. So let's take a closer look at the report, and then we're going to be back with our colleague Abdul Aziz.